Hey there, it's Dr. Karen, and today I'm going to talk about attention span and some initial steps that you can take if you have noticed that your child has a short attention span and you're wondering what to do about it. So, first of all, I know this is a really controversial topic. There are a lot of different thoughts about how to improve attention, especially if there is some type of disability or condition that's been diagnosed. But that's not the intention of this video, is to go into all of those things. What I wanted to talk about today is a skill and a concept that a lot of people miss when it comes to improving their child's attention span. And that is number one, that most people don't realize that attending is a skill. So that means that because it's a skill, we want to think about it more like a muscle rather than something that's been inherited. So, in other words, that means because it's a skill, it's something that we can strengthen and improve with practice. So, the thing about attention is that it is one of the 8 executive functioning skills. What executive functioning is the set of skills that allows us to engage in goal directed behavior. So it is the skills that enable us to look at something that we have to do and figure out how to get from point A to point B. So, how much time do I need to do it? What are the steps that I need to take in order to do this thing? And then being able to figure out where to start in that process and how to go from step 1 to step 2 to step 3 and monitor yourself in the process so that you can actually get things done. If you can't do that and if you struggle with those skills, then what happens is that a lot of times you might be in the middle of something. It might be easy to get distracted. It might feel very overwhelming if you're not really sure where to start. So that can lead to procrastination, anxiety, avoidance, all of those things. And because of that, it can seem like you have a short attention span. So if you have a child who does struggle to attend to a task and they are particularly resistant to things that are more difficult and require sustained effort. So, obvious things would be things like homework, chores, anything that's not something very overstimulating that doesn't require a lot of mental energy, like video games or watching TV that allows you to be a little more passive or that has a lot of stimulation and is kind of a highly preferred activity. So anything that requires some kind of sustained effort that pushes us out of our comfort zone is likely to require a lot of executive functioning skills. This could even be simple things like getting yourself a meal or knowing how to clean your room or just pick up after yourself around the house or looking at your day and figuring out what do I need to do this entire day. Um, and then the thing about attention span is that if you aren't really sure where to start with a task and you can't monitor yourself throughout the task to figure out, am I paying attention to the right details? Am I doing the right thing? What that results in is if you're not quite sure where to start and you're feeling just generally overwhelmed, it's harder to focus and pay attention. Think about a time when you were really nervous or overwhelmed and you had to think about something specific and get something done. It was probably really hard to actually think about, okay, what am I doing? You were probably more likely to get distracted. So, a lot of times when there are issues with attention span, it's more of an issue of executive functioning and being able to plan and execute rather than just something strictly neurological that's going on that is preventing you from being able to pay attention that might have to be resolved through other means. Now, it is very true that if there is a condition present, that yes, there could be something going on physically that is impacting your ability to focus. But what happens is that if you have that going on and then you also have a hard time figuring out how to break something into steps and figure out where to start, then those two things together multiply. So it makes it even harder. So, yes, certain people might be more predisposed to have issues attending, But the thing about that is that regardless of that, if you learn to improve your skills of how to execute and plan, that takes a lot of the stress off, and it can actually improve your ability to attend to the task and stay focused for longer, because you're again eliminating a lot of that stress and making it more clear and taking away that cognitive fatigue. So, regardless of whether you decide to seek any other interventions, focusing on the actual skill of attending and those executive functioning skills can improve your ability to get through and actually engage in productive behavior. And that's why a lot of times people might seek some outside, some additional intervention that is supposed to improve attention. And if you don't address the actual skill of executing the task, and if you don't address executive functioning skills, then what happens is that those other interventions aren't going to be as effective because you're not actually teaching the skill of paying attention. And when you do that, when you work on executive functioning skills, what happens is that our tolerance for difficult tasks it increases. So things that might have been really difficult before, like writing a paper or doing some, like, even cleaning. I know cleaning can be pretty overwhelming for people because it's like, oh my gosh, where do I start? So even things like that previously seemed really overwhelming, you can increase your tolerance for those types of things with practice when you work on those specific skills of planning and execution that have to do with executive functioning. So if your child is struggling with that, then there are things that you can do right now, regardless of if you seek additional interventions, that are going to help them become more functional and independent with some of those things that you might be working on right now, especially things like doing homework assignments, keeping your things organized, and just again just increasing your tolerance for things that might be a little more challenging or difficult in managing all of that. So I actually, again, attending is just one of the 8 executive functions, and you'll find that if you don't have an understanding of all of the different the 8 different types, a lot of times they play off of each other. So yes, we want to improve attention and focus, but what really helps is if you look to see, because sometimes if there are attention issues, because that's just one of the executive functioning skills, a lot of times that is a red flag that there might be issues with some of the other executive functioning skills. So what can be really helpful is figuring out what those executive functioning skills are, seeing if your child is struggling with some of those other things, because when you work on all of those skills together, then that can actually improve your outcomes. It can actually improve your child's ability to focus and get things done and pay attention when you look at the big picture rather than just this one isolated skill. So if you want more information about attending and its relationship to executive functioning skills and just independence in general, and if you want to learn what the other executive functioning skills are so that you can start to think about them, see if your child is showing any of those signs, and start to have a better understanding of how you can support them in improving their attention, then you can sign up for my free guide. I will share a link in the description that will show you how to sign up for that free ebook. And that's going to dive into all the different types of executive functions, the signs of all the different areas to see, is this something that I need to work on? So I will share that link with you, and you can check out that guide to learn more about that so that you can learn ways that you can support your child in improving their attending abilities.